Are you wondering what to do about your 9 to 5? Right here, right now on Our Brands Live.
It's On Air Brands Live at Home with Devin Bravaco, Eric Cabral, Josh Terry, Jordan Fraser, and Justin Fraser. Lisa Holbert, Sarah McMillan, Chris Orsi, Jack Turkel, and Jake Resnicki.
What's up?
What is
What's up? What's up?
happening, good folks at home, in your ears, and on your computer screens? We are On Air Brands Live podcast coming at you. I love live because, as the cameras were off, Josh and I were like, what are we going to talk about? Well, we are going to talk, and we're going to figure this all out together. But we do have, let's acknowledge the man, the beard, the legend.
The beard.
Mr. Justin Balunsat. How are you, my brother?
Hey, man, I'm good. Thank you.
So for those of you who don't know, Justin is a real estate investor, and he came from a very long corporate career and job, and that's why we teed up the question earlier about what do you do if you're in a 9 to 5 and you're trying to figure out what's the next chapter in life. Well, isn't that a story that sounds familiar? Because that's something that I'm always talking about, and Devin comes from this as well, since she knows this guy. Tell the world how you know this man.
Be gentle.
I mean, I'm kind of biased, but I think he's pretty cool. He is my fiance, my partner in life, and my partner in business. So I'm excited to have him here today.
Love it. I'm glad you didn't say partner in crime, which is often a thing, especially when we're in real estate. When we say that about each other, it's like, I don't know. Real estate investing gets a bad rap sometimes.
Right.
So maybe
Yeah.
we should stay away from crime. But yeah. No, we're glad to have you here, brother. And we're just going to flow with the show.
Absolutely.
And hopefully inspire people with your story and everyone's story about, when you're in a W-2 and you're trying to figure things out and you're kind of bored, because that's what I was. I was bored to tears trying to figure out what I could do in life to sort of get back into some passionate, motion and do something that would.
And I think what you're talking about, for those tuning in, whether you're in an actual 9 to 5 or not, even if you're an entrepreneur, there's no guarantee that you are on the path that you feel compelled to be down, right? Mm-hmm. So there might be some relevancy on that front, knowing that, yes, I'm an entrepreneur. Yes, I'm carving my own path. Yes, I'm doing what I want to be doing, but I don't know if it's if it's right now. I don't know if this is the right thing. So we'll touch on all of that.
Yeah,
right?
Absolutely. Mm-hmm. But before we get into all of that meat and potatoes, let's talk about what's happening. And good morning, Mr. David. Always a favorite and loyal listener, follower. We love you. We have to mention, of course, that it is someone's birthday today. And thank you to David for creating you. And thank you for being here with us. Because nothing would be the same, right? Would we even be here right now? Who knows? Right?
No,
I'm a big subscriber of the movie It's a Wonderful Life.
Yes, preach it.
Mm-hmm.
And, the angel, what was his name?
Don't know.
I forget his name. Anyway, he showed George Bailey what it was like without him existing, and it was awful. So who knows what would happen if we weren't celebrating your birthday today if you didn't exist. So happy birthday, my friend.
Well, thank you.
Happy birthday, Dr. Carey. We're so happy you're with us.
I really appreciate that. I am 46 today. 46, which sounds just as crazy to me because I really don't feel it, and
you don't look it.
Well, thank you.
You don't look a day over
it.
45.
Thank you. And I certainly don't act it all the time. But like I've been saying, I feel the best I ever have. I feel like I'm in the best shape physically, mentally, emotionally, spiritually, by design, right here, right now. So just another day, just another number. But I'm all for receiving the love and support for the day of my birth. I'm starting to realize that, birthday, it's like, it's really, perhaps quite obvious, but I'm taking it a step further. This is people really stepping up and saying, we value and acknowledge you in this world. And isn't it really the highest form of respect for someone to say, happy birthday?
Yeah.
Like the day and the moment you were born, happy day to you.
What time were you born?
Yes, I was. No, I think 3:00 p.m.
All right, we'll be sure to, hit you up at 3:00 for the official.
What do you make of that? Is that important? Like on your birthday, do you acknowledge the actual time and you look at the clock and you're like, it's now?
Yeah, minus the fact that we couldn't find my birth certificate until I turned like 30 and we couldn't figure out what time I was born. So I still actually don't know. I mean, I don't know. I remember my mom found it and told me, and then I kind of forgot. So clearly it's not as important as I'm making it seem.
Yeah. But still, it's funny though, because I don't know. I'm thinking about time and how sort of
Please do.
irrelevant it is. But anyway, it could go like, because we have leap years, we have, sometimes February has 28 days and sometimes it has 29 days. And
Right.
is it really our birthday? You know what I mean? Like,
Yeah.
It's the way we carve out time.
Yeah, and
Anyway,
sometimes there are 9 planets, and then Pluto is not a planet
That
anymore.
is so true. I'm really, really like biting my tongue when I tell my daughter, that there's 8 planets and I see Pluto's like X'd out, and I'm like, let's just. And then the acronyms that we learned growing up.
Right.
Oh, yeah.
My mother,
Right.
whatever.
Yeah, yeah. My very educated mother just showed us
I'm
9
like,
planets.
just
Yeah.
ignore the last one.
Well, David's coming in hot today too, telling us it's officially 3:00, and you were correct on your birthday. So thank you
He's
for tuning
coming
in.
in
to
hot.
our biggest
Coming in
fan.
hot.
Well, he would know, absolutely. And am I wrong? Shouldn't David be an upcoming guest on this show?
Absolutely.
Absolutely.
We got to
If
make that
he ever
happen.
decides to turn his camera on,
He
for
will.
us.
He will decide. We're going to get him as a guest on this show. Speaking of Pluto not being a planet, somebody literally this past week told me that astrological signs, right, like Leo, which I am,
Yeah.
Sagittarius, etc. You know what astrological signs are. Somebody told me that they have legitimately restructured the whole system of astrological signs, adding one, which means that
Yeah.
everything is bumped. You are no longer, and I said, I take pride in my Leo-ness, and I don't want to not be. Could this possibly be? I didn't even want to Google it.
I think it's been
Man,
a thing though
that's-
for a while, but now because it's something with like an O. Because I remember, because I'm a Sagittarius and love Sagittarius, but I was changed to the new one, and I was
Ooh.
very anti.
No.
Yeah.
Are we allowed to just
Not
say no?
participate?
Yes, and say thanks, but no thanks.
Yeah. I think
Still
so.
lagging.
I think so.
I think it's a thing.
Yeah.
Yeah, that is weird. I guess it's more relevant to all the new birthers, whoever's being
Right.
born into that.
Right.
But I mean, we've identified ourselves for 46 years as X or Y or whatever. So yeah, that's going to be too difficult.
Some of us 48 years, if I'm
Yes.
not mistaken.
Yes, how dare you? But yes.
Ooh.
Yeah. How dare you?
Well,
Yeah. It's like you said, man.
You're 48.
It's
That's
just it's
crazy.
just a number. I don't feel it at all.
you don't look it or act it.
You know,
yes.
and it's funny because when you're a kid or when you're younger, and looking at someone who's 48 years old, I'm like, you're an old bastard. And I'm like, yeah, and then you have no idea.
Did you just
when
make
you-
an ODB reference?
Yeah, maybe. Yeah.
Keep going.
That's
But
OG.
yeah,
Yeah.
it's weird because then now even you look at someone who's 80 or 90 and you're like, yeah, it's kind of old, or maybe not, because when you get there, you'll probably still feel great. Who knows?
Yeah. What
But
a
I think it
dialogue.
goes back
Yeah.
to the
It's all up
clock,
here, right?
too. Yeah.
It is. Yeah, you're right.
all up here.
Absolutely. It's all up there, man.
So
Yeah.
Justin came through. I mean, he's been on our radar obviously for a while, at least connected through Devin. But really, these past few weeks, he has legitimately come into our circle, least of which coming through PodMax 3 to 4 weeks ago for the first time. Dare I ask, Justin, good experience?
Phenomenal experience. And I was a skeptic at first. I'm not gonna lie. Like,
Please don't.
I didn't know. I mean, I've never done a virtual event.
Really?
You know, I done events. You know, my background is in events, and I didn't know how it was gonna be. I wasn't familiar with podcasting, and so I didn't know. And so, my apologies. I left blown away, though. And Devin can tell you stories about the next few days after podcast, or PodMax. You know, I was hitting up all of my entrepreneur friends that I thought would legitimately benefit or at least listen to my experience of it. So yeah, PodMax Global was phenomenal. If you haven't gone, go.
Yeah, I appreciate that, man, because we noticed the swell of activity
in ticket sales.
Yeah, because Justin was just preaching and shouting from the mountaintops to anyone who would listen. So thank you for that, because a swell of people came in and they believe in you, and now they believe in us, which is great. So we appreciate you for that. And and we love having you. You know, so we love having you back, and you know, more to come, man. We got a lot more stuff.
Thank you. Yeah, it's a pleasure. It's a pleasure to be here. It's a pleasure to get to know you through Devin, and now, you know, over the last few weeks, get to kind of speak to you directly.
You guys are doing really cool, exciting things, and it needs to be heard. You know, it needs to be shared.
Appreciate that.
And there's platforms that a lot of people just aren't aware of or privy to, and that's what we want to do. We just want to give people the keys to get on those platforms. So speaking of which, when is this event that we keep talking about?
Our next one, which I gotta say, thanks to Devin, certainly, my goodness, for always week after week, day after day, keeping the team on track, looking forward, not only to the very next event, which is August 21st. Thanks for asking. We have at least 2 to 3 or 4 more on the calendar, and she's always keeping it like, yeah, guys, August 21st, we're there, we're getting it. We have some pieces to connect here, but what's September? What's October? What's November? How important is that for a team, right?
Yeah. I love how Devin's always looking ahead. She looks into the rearview mirror occasionally to like keep us and hold us accountable on the stuff that we owe people, you know, because some people sign up for more than 3 shows. So she's always like on top. Hey, did we deliver this? Did we deliver that?
So good.
But for the most part, it's always looking forward. What's going on in September, October, November, December? Who's the keynotes? You know, so it's critical. The point I'm making here is not to poach Devin, but to find a Devin in your world that can help you, hold you accountable, keep things moving forward, inspire the team, build the team. You know, that's critical. When Devin came on the team, Justin, and you know this, that just changed the business completely. So I'm gonna get emotional. So
that's huge. That's huge.
So if you go to findyourdevin.com, just made that up, but it should be findyourdevin.com. It's a whole network of your own Devins in your business and what you need.
We've cloned her.
You better get that domain.
Yeah, so for $9, we're going to buy that domain. But really, we're going to have to buy about 5 or 6 of those because everyone will spell Devin wrong.
Yeah, that's true.
That is true.
Right.
That's right.
But in all seriousness, Devin keeps us on track for August 21st and beyond. I'd love to talk about Justin's.
There you go. There's another Devin.
That's Justin's friend.
That's the homie.
That's great.
Awesome.
I'd love to talk about Justin's story for a minute because we were framing this whole thing about 9 to 5 and leaving it and whatnot. Because you came from that corporate world, but a lot of partying going on, right? Personally and in the structure of what you were hired to do, right? Paint that picture. What was your role?
Yeah, so I was director of banquets. I ended my corporate career as a director of banquets in New York City, at a hotel. I had a great career in the corporate world, some would say. But you know, there's things got to me. You know, the monotony, the everyday obligation, amongst other things. And and being around a party environment, an event environment, Devin can attest. There's a certain amount of imbibing that happens, and sometimes management can get involved, and unfortunately, that was me, and it escalated, and it got to a place where I couldn't handle it. And I'm thankful for that, because that moment was the moment I decided to be an entrepreneur and not live in this corporate world.
Oh.
I didn't maybe know that at the time, but in hindsight, that was my direction. That was me kind of getting out. So, we can dive in a little bit more, but yeah, that's, I've been an entrepreneur now for about 3 years, I can say. And Devin's been a huge partner in that. And, she keeps me in line like she keeps you in line. So I can definitely, empathize with you guys.
Thanks, Justin.
Justin, what were some of the early strategies or tips or habits that you had to put in place to make the transition from an employee type of mindset to an entrepreneurial?
Mm-hmm. You're breaking up a little bit there, Eric, but I think I got the gist of what you said. I had the mindset portion is the biggest part. And to me, the longer I'm on this entrepreneurial journey, the more that I'm seeing how important my mind is and how much I really need to protect it. So changing my mindset from a limited mindset to an abundance mindset. And a lot of people have probably heard that, but it's the truth. If you dig down deep, and at the very bottom, baseline is your mindset. And unfortunately, I don't think our system aids that in the way they should growing up. Although I'm a high school coach now, and so I see a lot of what they're doing in high schools now, and they're offering entrepreneurial classes, and they're offering virtual type things, and they're touching, and I think it's beginning to happen where they're not just teaching get a job, get a 401k, do your 9 to 5, have the security of a large corporation behind you.
That's good to hear, because my kids are too young, so I don't know what's happening. But, I think entrepreneurial mindset, financial education, all these things that aren't necessarily taught in schools or wasn't when I was growing up, that is critical to sort of helping and getting people comfortable with taking calculated risks and building businesses and moving the economy forward, rather than, because, for me, and like the Kiyosaki mindset is, and he's always preaching about how our educational system was basically built off of an industrial mindset. We needed to build industry. We needed factory workers. We needed those people. But as we evolved and as business started to evolve, which is completely different now than it was 50 years ago, 60 years ago, we need more of this. We need more of the Gary V's. We need more of the people that are preaching that get out there, build a business, start a business, don't be afraid, and it's really just important, especially
Absolutely. I think, sorry, there's a little bit of a lag. I think we need that. I think that's how you change the world, right? Is creativity and allowing people to be themselves and be unique, and everyone sees the world in their own way. And so let's utilize those strengths and let's focus on people's uniqueness, to be creative and help build this world and take the world to the next step.
I think too, it kind of goes into, kind of talking about birthdays and talking about age, and then also talking about like the 9 to 5. It kind of goes into like how everyone thinks that there's like this book of timelines of things you're supposed to do at certain times. And so it goes into, we talk about this a lot, but like at this age, you think you're going to do this. And then you get to that age and you're like, but what am I doing? And then it's like that shame and that guilt, but like no one really wrote that book that everyone kind of refers to. It's like a book of everyone thinks that this is what you're supposed to do. And so I think kind of being an entrepreneur kind of contradicts that book because it's not your typical way of what you do. So I think that's something like we've all kind of struggled with in different ways at different times in our lives and different journeys. It definitely.
I like what Jeff said here, Jake, if you want to put that on the screen, where he talks about, the pandemic will take away 9-to-5 opportunities. Now's the time to create, or at least, create, take your side hustle, right? So you can, so it's
Create.
like so true because the way things are evolving is people aren't necessarily tied to that structure anymore. And if the more opportunities we have to work from home, even if you're still part of, a big corporation or a large company, you don't necessarily have to work on those hours as long as the job gets done. Like On Air Brands, that's how we work. We're constantly working, and we don't even really necessarily pay attention to the clock. It's just as long as the deadlines are met, and as long as we do what we say we're going to do, we're not necessarily punching in and punching out, which is an old school mindset to me.
Well, did you hear what Google, who's a great example on two fronts here, even before all of this current living scenario, you visit their offices, they're the ones with the ping pong tables and the nap rooms and the big fully stocked kitchens and take vacation whenever you want and make sure your work gets done. Now they're the first big company to come out and say, our 200,000 employees are not returning to the office at least until the summer of 2021. Wow. They've already pushed it. They've already made that assessment. They're like, our people are working from home. That's 100% of their workforce working from home.
That's crazy.
Google.
Crazy.
Through July 2021. They're like, stay home for now. Keep doing what you're doing.
Well, good for them.
Yeah.
I think a lot of people too are realizing like, like I remember like in my corporate job, like event planning, you don't necessarily have to, and this is my opinion, but you don't have to be in the office for event planning. Yeah, it's to show face and to show, but like, like you work hard hours, you work long hours. Justin and I, obviously coming from the event world and being in hospitality, can speak a little bit about like the backstories of it. But like you work long hours, you're constantly like in people's faces doing certain stuff, and it's exhausting sometimes. It's really draining. And so we would always like argue the fact of like, can we work from home when we don't have an event, or can we work from home and just kind of like take a second to like kind of regain ourselves? Like it takes a lot out of you. And everyone was so big on like, you need to show face, you need to be here, you need to do this and blah, blah, blah. And we were like, guys, like we could do our job from home. All you need is a laptop. Like when you're not having an event, all you need is a laptop or a phone. And everyone was so big on like, you need to show face, you need to be in the office, you need to be here early and stay late. It's like that whole mindset of everything. And now it's like funny because it's looking at it and all the event teams are working from home and they're like, oh, this works out perfectly. And we're like, we've been telling you this for how long? Like, you don't need us in the office. Like, when there's events and stuff. But like, I think it's, it's showing a lot of corporations or bigger organizations how you don't necessarily need everyone in the office. It's a different, complete, like changing your mindset, changing what's needed.
Yep.
It's really adapting, to what's happening, especially. So I need one of the pros, one of the benefits to me with people coming in and from my experience of, 20 plus years in corporate America, the one thing that's difficult to create is culture when it's virtual. Like I think we're doing the best we can. We're always tapping in through tools and Zoom and everything that we have available to us. But there's something to be said for, yes, being in an office together day in and day out, where the fabric of the culture gets tighter when you're in the trenches together. Because I come from the creative agency world where we would literally work from 2, 3, 4. Sometimes I think I did an all-nighter where the sun came up. And there's something about that's not a good thing. but it happened
That's not
occasionally.
healthy.
No, it's not. I was in my 20s. But the thing is, you do have a connection to your team at that point, it's at a deep level where
Yeah.
everyone sort of feels the pain
Yeah.
and experience that together. I remember when people started coming into work the next day and they saw us still there, it was like we landed on the moon. Like they were treating us like astronauts. It was crazy how they celebrated us when, like, yeah, that's not healthy. But they were like, thank you for getting the job done. It was necessary. And, I got really close to the team at that time. But so there's ways out there for us to continue building culture and connection through, as cameras and phones and mics get better, it kind of feels pretty close to the real thing. It's not exactly, but yeah, we're working through it and we're figuring it out as we go.
Eric, I totally agree with what you said. So like when we had our events team, like in my corporate job, there was 6 of us, and obviously Jen, and there was a few others, and that was the time that, like, as crazy and like the hours, like, yeah, you work till 2 a.m. and then you're kind of up at 5 a.m. So like you're sleeping for only a few hours and you're on your feet the whole time and you're in a suit, you're in heels, you're running around, your feet are killing you. But I think that those times, as much as like in the mix of it, you're like, oh my God, this is horrible. Like those are the best times also. Like those are the times that we remember, we think of, we always have like great stories from. And those are the times that you learn the most too, because you learn how to like proactively plan so that something doesn't happen, or you see something happen and you know how to fix it really fast and you're kind of like quick on your feet. So you learn the most from that, and you really do. Those are where my best stories are from. I mean, they're just funny.
Speaking of best stories, Justin, I know you said you were the director of banquets for New York City, posh hotels. You've worked with a variety of A-list names and celebrities.
Yeah.
Off the top of your head, can you give us a really, really great story, and then we can shine the light onto what was going on internally. But on the surface, like at a party, what's really like an attention getter story that you were part of?
How about Tony Bennett's 90th birthday party that Christina Aguilera threw for him at the Rainbow Room?
I love it. Go ahead. Yeah.
So she threw a party for Tony Bennett's 90th birthday party. It was at the Rainbow Room. I was the associate director of the Rainbow Room at the time.
Wow.
They had just reopened the space because it closed down for about 5 years.
That's right.
For some renovations. Cipriani left. New ownership came in. And so they renovated it. They kept the cool circular floor, though, which was really cool. It's a wooden circular floor, dance floor, and it actually rotates, which is really cool. They just kind of kept up the mechanisms of it. Gorgeous space on the 65th floor of the Rockefeller Center. Anyway, so she throws this party for Tony because Tony's a big mentor of hers, with guests like... who was there? Stevie Wonder, obviously Christina Aguilera, Bill Clinton, some of those characters. So it was just really cool. So at midnight, they had a handle. They had this giant like handle that they were going to throw. Tony and I'm sorry, not Christina Aguilera. Lady Gaga. Did I say Christina Aguilera? It was Lady Gaga.
Yes.
Lady Gaga. Excuse me. Lady Gaga. Lady Gaga threw this party. And so they were about to throw this switch. And when they threw the switch, there was a light show on the Empire State Building that we could see from Rockefeller Center going to Tony Bennett's music that we could hear in the Rainbow Room.
Wow. Okay.
That is crazy.
Wow.
Yeah. And then they did a little, Stevie Wonder and Christina Aguilera did a little duet together for about an hour or so. They did a set, and then Christina sang a few songs on her own. And
Christina
the
or
Rainbow
Lady Gaga?
Lady Gaga.
Why do I keep saying Christina?
I think you've done events with Christina Aguilera, so you kind of have the two mixed. But Lady Gaga was the person there.
That's fine. We know.
That's true. Christina, I did do an event at the Rainbow Room with too. So,
Yeah.
pardon me. It's Lady Gaga.
Mixing them all up.
Yeah, and
Tony
so
Bennett.
it was gorgeous. It was an awesome thing. But that one kind of really sticks out in my mind.
Oh yeah, I could see
And
why.
what's cool for that one too, everyone else on the public could also tune in and listen and watch too, which is like
They did a live.
cool. So like Justin was like in the event telling me about this. They had this humongous cake that was made for it, and I'm just gonna glam it up a little bit. But it was like this humongous cake, and it was like this whole big thing. I mean, everyone and anyone that was known was in that room. And then in the public. So I'm like tuning in, like watching it like live stream from like my house. And he's telling me about it there. I mean, he's definitely done, and he's done every kind of celebrity, every kind of politician.
Yeah.
So you were front and center, like mixing and mingling with them right there.
Yeah. I mean, the Rainbow Room's not a big room. It fits about 250 people, 225. Wow. But it's tiered, so it's intimate. You're actually pretty close. So I mean, the performers were 20 feet from me, and I was helping with the switch, and we help them get out of their car on 47th or whatever is down there, and so we're as the associate director, we obviously have our hands in a lot and oversee a lot of things.
I'm curious who stands out in your mind as the most demanding, that needed the most care.
Barbara Streisand or Mariah Carey.
Oh yeah, Mariah Carey's.
Take some time to think about it, Justin. Don't just blurt it out. Right, you catch it. He's like, just two right here. I got them.
Mariah Carey.
He's like, you want more? I can give you 10 more.
I got my list. So I love that. That's a great story from the outside looking in. It's like, oh my God, you're amazing. That must have been so cool. But even for that specific story, and I again know a lot of your history, what was going on the inside? You weren't completely sober?
Yeah, no. I had a little trouble. I had a little drinking problem for a while there in New York. Thankfully, I haven't had a drink in 3.5 years.
Good job.
But yeah, it was a struggle. It's a party atmosphere. And listen, my who I am, I'm that it was bound to happen. It runs in my family, but I'm just that kind of guy. I'm drawn to a good time. I don't know what else to say. That is what it is. And I don't regret most of the things, but I had a great, I learned a lot, and I'm glad for them. It's got me to where I am.
There's an interesting point here. Do you think, Justin, that going a little deeper, down the psychology path, because you said you're drawn to a good time, was there, like looking back, were you drawn to director of banquets, which is going to set you up to be around a drinking environment, which is what you wanted and required? Is that sort of what connected you there? And then personally, we can see why we're drawn to certain people, places, and opportunities, because we need to fill that for ourselves.
Yeah, absolutely. I think I didn't know it at the time.
Sure.
I don't think it was an active thought, but I think, absolutely. And then once you kind of get a taste of some glitz and glamour in the hotel industry, and people that start showing up around you, and you want to be the guy that they go to, you want to be a part of that. It's hard to not, and you see a lot of celebrities struggle with it. You see, I see it all over the place. But from the day that I started work in New York City, my director of catering and events had a refrigerator in his office with a bottle of booze. He was smoking a cigarette in his basement office I won't say the hotel, but, and that was my first week on the job. And so it kind of set the tone for, all right, I could do that. I could do that. I wanted to be a GM of a hotel, I thought at once, but then I didn't like the fact that our GM lived in the hotel. so I thought, you know what's the next best, most lucrative position? And director of banquets is that.
Huh.
So, and if I ever change my mind, it's a director of banquets kind of is a jack of all trades. You kind of know your engineering department, your housekeeping department, your food and beverage department. You kind of know everybody. So it's almost a general managerial kind of pseudo position. You know where all your resources are. You're not stuck in one department, if you will. I use all of them. So if I wanted to change and be a GM, I knew I could still probably make that step. But director of banquets seemed like a position I could drink, I could smoke, I could hang out, I could mingle, I could, and not be in trouble. So.
And I want to say too, like, he was damn good at his job too. So I was his client, and that's kind of how we had met. And so we, he would run my events for me on site. And I mean, I know that you made me blush before, and I appreciate it, but I'm not perfect in events. I screwed up a lot. And I mean, I'll never forget, like, I took over this event for somebody that had left my company, or I don't remember what happened with them, but I took over the event and I didn't look over the details for it. And for some reason, I had an hour water break in between the event and then the reception. And I didn't realize it until 15 minutes before they broke. And I'm like looking at Justin being like, why aren't they setting up the reception? And he's like, so the water's all set. Is everyone ready? And at this time we weren't dating, but we were like friends and like kind of like flirty. And he like looked at me. He's like, what do you mean? There's an hour water break. And I'm like, why is there a water break? And he's like, what do you mean? I'm like, I have 300 people coming out of the ballroom in 15 minutes and they're supposed to eat food. And he's like, and the guy was sweating and he's running around and I don't know how he made it happen. And I'm literally standing there with like, like your typical event planner with your phone in your hand and like a clipboard and like my heels being like tapping my toe, like, come on guys, figure it out. And Justin's like looking at me like, you dumb bitch. But at the same time, he literally, I was his client. And he made it happen. And like, so I have to say, like on top of whatever, he went through, he also was really good at his job. He figured it out.
What she's trying to say is I was just a highly functional alcoholic.
So that brings me to the next question, Justin. What actually got you as that last straw out of that industry?
It was my last drunk. It was my last drink. I was drinking all day. I worked a party, and Devin came and had to kind of find me in New York City. I honestly don't know where or when. Middle of the night sometime. Somehow I had gotten her on the phone. I don't remember really calling her, but I'm in a custom suit, leaning against sitting down, leaning against a building, eating some halal guys. Shout out to halal guys.
Shout out to the halal guys.
So at least I made one good decision that night, which was the food.
Or was it calling me?
Yeah. So yeah, and then 2 days later, I was headed to treatment to get help and change my life. So
you were ready. Clearly.
Oh yeah, I was ready. And actually I had sent an email to Devin, I don't know what it was, a few months prior to all of this, kind of just saying like, man, I'm having a hard time right now with drinking and I'm having a hard time saying no, and I don't, I just need you to know. So she kind of knew what was happening, but I was still, it's the one thing about addicts and alcoholics is that we're really, really, we're on top of being a little bit crazy. We're also very creative people and resilient and resourceful, because we hide a shameful secret from the world. And so in order to do that, you have to be savvy, and so I'm actually starting a podcast that is kind of, the idea is that I wanted to cross those two areas, addiction and entrepreneurship, and how mindset in both of those are kind of parallel paths, and how entrepreneurship and how really I think that people who battle with addiction can make tremendous entrepreneurs.
What a fascinating theme. Thank you for sharing and coming to the table with that. Can't
Yeah.
wait to see where that
That's-
journey takes
that's-
you.
That's powerful, man.
Well, I
Yeah.
didn't know we were going down this road, but yeah, I'm gonna go.
Keep it going.
But I think being his partner during all of this too, it was hard and confusing and it was difficult at times, and then it kind of just all came to the face. And yeah, for some reason he liked street meat when I drank, and so when I didn't know where he was, I was like, let me drive to a street meat cart. And I went to his favorite one and I found
She
him
knows
there.
me. She knows
Oh, wow.
And I was like, that's where he's gonna be. So I mean, we laugh about it now, but it was, it was a hard time, and it was we learned a lot. But I think it grew our relationship because we had to kind of figure it out in different ways. I think it grew like our relationship with friends and family. So there's a lot of positives that came out of it, and obviously he's healthy now, and I feel like now, like I always had said to him, like, I want you to love yourself as much as like I love you and see you. So I'm really grateful that he gets to see himself in a different light now, because that's the person I always saw. And so yeah, it's been a cool journey, and we've had a lot of ups and a lot of downs.
Yeah.
But it's cool to be along with him.
Yeah.
And speaking of being seen, our man Larry Roberts says, congrats on your sobriety. And while we can take that at face value, I also want to connect it to what you said, Devin. Every people just want to be seen, right? That's all we want. We just want to be seen and heard.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yep. Amen.
I mean, that ties into how we built our business, right, with PodMax, because everyone has a powerful story and everyone has the right to have a platform and share what that story is, so that others can find you, because that's what's critical about what we're doing is how do people know what you are about, what you do, and the successful things that you figured out. So unless you put it out there, and we appreciate you telling your story, Justin, not just on this show today, but on past shows that you've done with us and future shows, because you had an opportunity to meet now our partner Larry Roberts, who from my understanding has some of a similar journey.
Well, put it on. Read that.
Yeah.
He just
there we go.
he just mentioned it.
There's
Yeah,
no
there you go.
doubt, Justin, balance I preach. I did it for years until my alcohol addiction beat me for a while. Then 7 years ago, I got the help I needed and kicked its ass,
Yeah.
which I fucking love. Also because Larry Roberts is such a cool guy. Like he's, a huge fan of what we do, but like we're a huge fan of what he does. And it's just so cool too. And what's funny too is before like this kind of, kind of everyone shared their stories and stuff. When Justin was on PodMax, he comes out of it and he's like, Larry Roberts is such a cool guy, like such a cool guy. And I'm like, I know, it's amazing. And then they kind of bonded over that story too. And I'm like, it's just really cool what being vulnerable can do to people, because you really open up and you're able to talk to people and have like more of a meaningful connection. And I just think, one, Larry Roberts is a cool guy. But it's just it's a cool way to connect.
Yeah, and that's actually listen, I got to shout out PodMax Global again, because that was one thing that I think I miss at in-person events, is this vulnerability, because you're trying. And I don't know, this is just my opinion. I just think there's a bit of saving face when you're meeting strangers in a new, even if it's a neutral environment, it's still new, and it's not at your home, at your desk, in your kitchen, on your living room couch, where there's a sense of comfort that allowed PodMax Global Virtual to, I think, allow those guests and hosts to be vulnerable.
It's such a great point. I remember after we did the very first PodMax Global Virtual event, Eric, you acknowledged that after it, because we hoped it would achieve what we were going for, but we've never done it before virtually. We questioned, will it translate? We took pride in the experience we offered. But what we accomplished virtually, Eric, you pointed out that, there are a handful of elements through the virtual event, like Justin just pointed out, that we never were able to accomplish in the in the live event. So you're really pointing out that doing virtual for one reason or another really set the stage and the tone for people to bring their most vulnerable, true selves. We were able to accomplish that. So it's a great
And-
acknowledgement.
Josh, I think you do like a great job at that too, because one, it's your birthday, so I think we should really shout you out a lot and all the great things that you're good at. But no, honestly, I think that you really do a great job at kind of acknowledging people. You're also very good at what you do, and pulling information and kind of digging out and getting people to really be their true selves and feel that comfortability. But you do a great job of going from like one person to the next and making sure everyone feels like loved and appreciated and acknowledged, and know that like we see them and we hear them and we want to know their story, and each person has their own individual story that, you know, if they share it too, can really help and bond with other people. And so I think in PodMax Global, you know, us, you know, Justin and I coming from the event world and seeing, you know, easily a million events, I think that the virtual experience of PodMax Global is something that neither one of us had experienced in all of our years in the event world.
Wow. That's powerful.
Yeah.
That's huge. Can we get you to record it? Can we use that as a testimonial, Devin?
I think she just did
Sounds
record
like
it,
that
right?
too.
Yeah.
See, yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
no, I think, you know, both of us being on different sides of the event world and seeing a lot of different things, you know, you kind of do, you kind of go into your own shell, and people are a little bit shy around some people, and then you also like are tired and you kind of go into like your own space and need your own time and need to get away, and you cling to the people that you know the most. So it I think being virtually and really having Josh kind of make sure everyone feels like they're a part of it, you kind of get to experience something that is very unique and different.
Yeah,
Thank
unique,
you.
definitely.
And what's really crazy about that is we were able to, because one of the things we didn't know is we've done it in person as an 8-hour day. We said, let's keep the a lot of the same agenda, which meant it was an 8-hour day. And one of the best pieces of feedback we hear over and over again from all the PodMax Global virtual events is that these 8 hours flew by. And how is that even possible? You're alone in your home, in front of a computer, yet you feel connected, and the whole experience just zips by. What a great accomplishment.
Yeah. It's the opposite of from what I hear other people are doing virtually, right? Where it drags on, and you dread the fact that it's a full day or 2-day or 5-day, because it's like, now what am I? How am I going to drudge through this? But yeah, we figured out what the DNA and the components were that worked, and to quote myself, Josh, what you mentioned, what I said was,
You're going to quote yourself back to
quote
you.
myself back to me. I've never done that before.
So in other words, you're just saying something.
Yeah, exactly. No, but I remember exactly what I said. We had Global on a Friday, and I felt that it was the best event we had ever done, live, virtual, whatever it was. And I didn't want to say that to the team until I was like, let the weekend go by. Let this marinate to see if I feel the same way on Monday. And Monday morning we had our events regroup, and I was like, guys, that was the best event we ever had. And it was crazy because then we even topped it with the next Global, which was crazy. So it just gets better and better and better. I don't know how we keep raising the bar, but we do push ourselves. Good. And it's not just about teams, but I think individually you have to push yourself first. And then you start to notice people around themselves vibing off that, and then everyone pushing each other to get to the next level. Because we could easily sit and rest on our laurels and say, yeah, let's just keep doing the same exact thing. But no, we keep trying to introduce new things, new people, new sort of strategies. We were talking about things that we heard other events doing that are working. And we're like, crap, we need to investigate and maybe implement some of those things. So we're going to try to bring new stuff to every PodMax so that everyone gets to experience something unique as everyone levels up, right? Because there are people right behind us that are starting to figure things out, people who are even coming to Global and maybe trying to dissect and figure things out. So, no, and what I like about what Justin said a few minutes ago, thanks for pointing this out, is that people are more apt to be vulnerable on these shows because they're home. I never really considered that people are quicker to become vulnerable. Whereas like when you go to a networking event, it may take hours or it may not happen, or you may go into the corner, like you said, Devin, with the people that you know because that's comfortable. I mean, I even do that as an entrepreneur. I know I need to go out and talk to people that I don't know. But there are times during our PodMax events in the past where it was live, I would go into a corner and talk to Josh or talk to my business partners and people that I already feel comfortable around, and not because it's work, right? When you're talking to people you just met, it's work.
And you know what's interesting? I'm not. I am more. I'm more ready to, in the virtual format, like you were saying, Devin, as the MC of the event, really picking people out and making sure that everyone is seen and heard. First of all, I've never taken that role in person, and I don't know if I would feel compelled to, because that's not really me in an in-person, unless it was premeditated and defined. This role wasn't premeditated or defined. It's what we just sort of stepped into and did and felt right, and now we just do it again and again.
Yeah.
But I don't do that in person. I haven't done it in person because there's a different element involved.
Totally.
It's weird.
Yeah.
It's different.
And I want to go
You
back
found your
to
superpower, by the way.
You do. And that's definitely one of yours.
Like all of a sudden, it was like he stepped out of the phone booth. And we're like, oh crap, he can fly.
I want to also tie it back into like being an entrepreneur and like the virtual space for events, because I think it's really important to see that, like, I feel like if I was in my 9-to-5 job and that's kind of what I was doing in that corporate life, like I would never, ever think of dedicating myself like a day to go, like, you know, say who I was or what the company was doing or anything like that. Like, I remember getting invited to like lunch events and I'm like, that's too much time. That's a waste of my time. I'm not going. And so like, I really, you know, think being an entrepreneur and seeing it in this world, it's so important, because at first we were like, oh my God, is the 9-to-5 too long? But no, it's not long enough. Like, you want to stay on that call for so much longer. And so to think of the difference between being a corporate versus being an entrepreneur is exactly like PodMax Global. Like, it's that definition, because I would never, ever dedicate that much time to like learning something. I mean, I was always supposed to go to a different training or go to a class or go to a meet and greet or go to like a networking event. And I'm like, absolutely not. Get me out of those. I hate them. And now being an entrepreneur, I'm like, yes, like, let me like talk to people. Let me meet people. I want to be in that space. And so I think, you know, going back to the 9-to-5 thing and leaving corporate and changing it. And yeah, you have to change your mindset, but I think it's so important to really network and be in that environment with like-minded people. And so leaving corporate's a whole different world. It's you just gotta try.
You have to
Oh yeah, networking is perfect. There you go.
Yo,
There you go.
Amy,
We got the bucks.
shout out to Amy Majuri.
Yeah,
Love
thanks for the
her.
bucks, Amy. We owe you
Oh
bucks.
yeah, love that.
Our last week's guest on Honor Brand
Yeah,
Live.
and she also is going to be a PodMax attendee, getting herself on 3 shows during the day, plus a couple of more after the event.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that's not.
It's
Yeah, I
good.
think it's awesome. And I think it's really cool podcasting. You know, I love the fact that you're getting in front of other people's audiences that you wouldn't normally get in front of. You know, you hang out with your real estate. Devin and I hang out with our real estate people, and you know, because we want to know what's going on. We want to be successful in real estate. But there are other people doing cool podcasts with a following that may not be interested in real estate, but maybe our paths can cross some other way.
Yeah. Especially with your story, Justin, you know, a lot of people can identify and totally relate. And, you know, I relate to it too. You know, there were times where, you know, I recognize that I have an addictive personality. And when I start to go down that path, I'm like, I need to check myself and figure this out before, because I know, you know, it takes a level of self-awareness and vulnerability
Absolutely.
to say, this is me and I need to fix this.
Yeah.
And I appreciate you for sharing that, because a lot of people don't. You know, a lot of people are ashamed or afraid, or, you know, there's just many, many things that people don't share.
Right.
And like you said, podcasting and Podmax could be a platform for you, especially. And Devin and I were talking about this stuff offline. It's like we always talk about our scars, not our wounds, because we're ready. We're ready to now talk about stuff. So anyone who's listening out there, pay attention to, where you are on that journey. And if you're ready, if you really truly think, it could be very therapeutic, very helpful for you to get out there, meet people who have the same or similar story. And you only know, I'm getting chills, you only know unless you put it out there.
Right.
So we're here for that. We're here for people to put that out there and to share their stories so that more and more people can find you.
Yeah.
And it's just powerful.
Absolutely.
You know what's so ironic about that is when people are just thinking about either starting their own show as a host or guesting on shows for a variety of reasons. I mean, I think every business person, every entrepreneur, no matter what category you're in, can and will and does benefit from guesting on shows. Every host knows that one way to further that agenda is to reverse the mic and get yourself on shows. So guesting on shows, no matter what side of the mic, what I didn't realize is no matter how much fear or uncomfortability you might have when you're just thinking about it, which first of all, that's the signal that, okay, that's where you must go right now. The irony is that I've experienced by doing it, it gives you a tremendous sense of confidence. And then you're like, oh my God, I feel great as the guest. I'm seen, I'm heard, I'm being asked these questions. It's like it's putting me in a really good position. I feel like I did good. I understand that I can grow through this. I found so much confidence in and of myself for what I was doing within podcasting, which is why I embrace it for so many reasons.
It's got a lot to do with validation too, because when you're on the platform and you're on their stage, people who haven't been a guest on a show before understand this. It's 100% collaborative.
Oh, yes.
It is not a debate. There's no one there to make you feel bad. It's there to shine a light on you and your qualities and what you bring to the world. And that's when I realized, like, I need to be more of a guest, right? Because as a show host, you're often shining the light on someone else, right? You're not often sharing all your strengths. And now as a guest, you get to shine, which is great, because then that's why I think the event is successful, because when people come back into the main room, and Devin can attest to this too, right? All of us actually, when you see how like beaming everybody is, and the fact that Josh is on stage literally taking this spotlight and putting it on each and everybody to share how they're feeling, man, it's like this is not phony baloney stuff. This is actually for real. People are almost in tears as they share what's happening.
And I think too, a lot of the hosts kind of come back and acknowledge, or they almost even say like, I'm sorry for digging so deep, but that was such a beautiful story. And like, then you're like, no, don't apologize. Like that's what we're here for. The reason that we do this is to share our story and share our struggles and everything that we've been through, and to kind of resonate and help with people. So I think it's, it really is, it's powerful.
Wow.
Good stuff. So I know this has been a big Podmax family festival, but we're
not completely.
We're preaching because I'm so glad Justin's on the show, and thank you for being here. Justin.
Absolutely. Thanks for having me.
It's good stuff. It's great getting to know you, brother. I know we spent some time at the winery, and we also got to bond a little bit, and looking forward to more and more. Of our family bonding and growing together. So very cool. Any things you want to chat about? I mean, August 21st is the date. Mark your calendars. Check out the website podmax.co, because we have now instituted an early bird.
Right. On August 8th, it'll go up as written on the site.
Exactly. So it's updated. So for those of you who have been a part of Podmax in the past, you will now see the new pricing, which will take effect August 8th. So jump in before August 8th, and you'll get the previous pricing. And we hope to see you there. We hope to share your story and, build wonderful things together. So that's it for us. On Air Brands Live. Look for us. We'll see you. Podmax.co.
Tuned in to the On Air Brands podcast.
Oh,
Yo,
so
you're-
good.
You're an alky.
I was getting emotional, so I had to stop.
I
was
was
quiet.
like, you just cut it really fast.
No, and also, yeah, even during the show, like I was kind of, I didn't expect us to.
I didn't know we were going there.
Neither did
At
I.
all.
Wait, are we still
Way to go,
live?
Josh.
Yeah, I think, are we still live?
I like-
Yeah, we're still live. Hi, folks.